All right, so now we're gonna go through an assessment so that you can find out if you have limitations in the hip flexors or if you have limitations in the quads or even in the IT bands. So this is a very good assessment for you to do. Very simple, straightforward. Now it's not perfect, but it's the best way to assess this stuff on your own. So I'm gonna lay down on a box or a table or something where I can hang my legs off and I'm not gonna be touching the floor. So I'm just gonna lay back. I'm gonna bring both legs back. Now, I don't want 90 degrees and I don't wanna hug all the way to my chest. I want it somewhere in the middle. Now from here, I'm just holding on to this right leg and I'm letting my left leg drop all the way down, all right? So the whole goal is I want this thigh to be able to lie flat and just rest on the box, all right? The second goal is I want my knee to be at 80 or 90 degrees in this position. So if I was here, then I have a limitation, or if I was here, then I would have a limitation, all right? So we want to be able to really just let it lay flat. Now, if I cannot get this left thigh to lay flat on the bench, then we have some sort of hip flexor limitation. So it could be the iliopsoas, or it could be the rectus femoris, which is a quad muscle, but it extends the knee and it also flexes the hip. So let's take that out of the equation. So I can take that muscle out of the equation by straightening the knee. So a lot of you'll be here, so we know we have some sort of limitation, but then when you straighten your knee, all of a sudden you can easily lay flat. So I took the rectus femoris out of the equation, now I can lay flat. That means it's rectus femoris tightness. So hip flexor stretching and quad stretching is the best thing that you could do to fix that. Now, in the other case, we might be here, we can't get it down, we straighten the knee, we still can't get it down. That means it's more of a true hip flexor iliopsoas tightness, all right? So quad stretching isn't gonna do much, but hip flexor stretching is gonna really help that problem. So whether your thigh is elevated or it's all the way down, a lot of you will have to kick it out this way, and that means we probably have some tightness through the IT bands or the muscles that control the IT bands. So I want you to be able to keep that leg completely straight while we're in this position. So if you had to kick it out, then we're gonna do more of our lateral line stretch. So if you had to kick that leg out and we are a little bit tight in the IT bands or the muscles that control it, we're gonna work on our lateral line stretch, which I'm gonna show you in a second. So for the lateral line stretch, we just cross over, right over left, and then I push away with my right hand, I grab overhead with my left hand, I'm pulling with my left hand, I'm pushing with my right hand, and I'm pushing this hip as far as I can that way. So I'm there, and then release, that's one rep. Push, push, release, all right? Anywhere from 4 all the way up till about 8 reps, and then we would switch over to the other side. So I'll feel that in that left hip, so all the way from the knee through that lateral aspect of the hip, all the way through the lateral aspect of the core and into that lat. So it's kind of stretching that whole lateral line. That'll really help us fix that issue. So on that lateral line stretch, we can do anywhere from 4 to 8 reps and generally 2 sets. You could just do this 3 days a week, or if you're really tight, you might want to do this every day. Okay, so if we determined that the quads were tight, so remember, if we laid down and we couldn't get that knee hanging down at a 90 or an 80 degree angle and it was more straightened, then we probably have some quad tightness. Or if we couldn't get that thigh down, but then we extended the knee and then it easily got down, then we probably have some tightness in that rectus femoris. So if that's the case, we're gonna wanna lengthen that rectus femoris. So I can do some general quad stretching. Let's say I go up against a box. I can do a general quad stretch, hold in this position, get up nice and tall. I'm trying to get my heel to my butt or as close as I can. And then let's say we hold for 15 seconds. Then I can go here and lean forward and get that knee back behind the body and hit it in that position, 15 seconds there as well. And then I can switch over. Of course, anytime we can do some foam rolling before we get into our stretching, it's even better because we get those temporary increases in range of motion from the foam roll. So then in our stretch, we can get a little deeper than we normally would be able to. So a good protocol here would be stretch all the way from the top of the hip all the way down through the top of that knee, and then come into our stretch. 15, 15, do 2, you could even do up to 3 sets if you're extremely tight here. And again here, anywhere from 3 days a week all the way up to 7 days a week. So if we determine that we have hip flexor iliopsoas tightness, remember we determined that by laying in that position and that thigh could not get flat parallel to the ground, and then we extended the knee and we still couldn't get it back down to the ground. That is more true hip flexor tightness. So there's a lot of ways that we can stretch this, and we do a lot of hip flexor stretching already in the program. But a simple way is just take a big stride, keep that back knee as straight as we can. It's gonna bend a little bit, and then just sink down into this position. Now I don't wanna have an arched back. I am gonna angle my torso a little bit forward because it's a little more natural, and I can just sit down into this position and I feel that stretch in that hip flexor. So I could hold there for 15 seconds, and then I could switch over 15 seconds here. We would do 2 sets, 3 days all the way up to 7 days a week. Or like in the program, we do hip flexor tilts. You could either do this here or elevate your back foot, and then we shift the hips forward. Again, we are never arching our back, but we shift our hips forward, and then from there I can squeeze this left glute as hard as I can, and that already lengthens that hip flexor. So then after we squeeze, I can then go big with the arms here, bring it together, and then tilt towards that lead leg to kind of get a different angle of that hip flexor stretch, and then bring it back down and go again. So that would be 1 rep. We can do anywhere from 4 to 8 reps here, 2 sets, anywhere from 3 to 7 days a week.